This is our last week, day number 2. Hope you enjoy this Tuesday and the video clips that we present and share with you. I hope it makes you think. Hope it makes you think about Black history differently. Thank you.
How trauma gets in the way of seeing truth is that we tend to want to make meaning about everything. I think about the state of the way the brain works. We're trying to fill in the gaps. And this is what we do all the time. When I look at you with your mask on, my brain is already filling in your face. If you pull down your mask, I might be surprised because you didn't look the way that my brain had created. And we do that with our trauma experiences too. We try to make meaning of what is happening. And the truth is we may never get the meaning. And if our healing is tied to having the right answer, if our healing is tied to understanding what that person was thinking that hurt us, if it's dependent on that, then we have put the prospects of our healing into the hands sometimes of a perpetrator. And so we have to be able to find a healing or think hope in a healing. Maybe we won't get it, but hope in a healing. Hope in a healing that's not tied to the validation, opinions, or thoughts of the one that hurt us. And this is why I keep thinking in my mind and pointing to Jesus. Jesus, the one who understands and gets trauma like nobody's business. Gets trauma from the religious community, gets trauma from the state, gets trauma from family and loved ones, gets the trauma of being hung naked before the world, bruised and brutalized and mocked. This is the one now currently, hands outstretched, as the great high priest interceding over the church. So when I think about my own traumas, I think to myself, who is safe with my trauma? The one who knows trauma and who intercedes for me now.
Like, I think holiness in the abstract is not offensive. I think when it gets down to submit your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, whatever you eat or drink, do all things to the glory of it. Like, when you get into those kinds of like specific exercises of holiness, that's when it gets offensive, because now you're dealing with people's idols. You know, you're dealing with people's sin patterns and sin natures. It's an inconvenience to give your life as a living sacrifice when you don't want to. Even if we don't like holiness, we want it. And what I mean is, like, even the ideals that we impose on our neighbors, we want them to be good to us. We want them to be kind. We want them to be consistent. We want them to not lie to us, not steal from us. We don't want them to be greedy. Like, all of these are holy things that we are expecting of our neighbors. And so imagine if we lived in a society where there was no moral standard as given to us in the law of God, then earth would have nothing anchoring it, saying, no, there is better, and there is more, and there is a way of living that dignifies humanity and doesn't destroy it. And so that's the irony, is that we really do want holiness. We just don't want it at the expense of ourselves.
This campaign to save the Moses burial ground connects with a movement to promote dignity in life and in death, a movement that we're building in this nation today. I was reading the prophet Isaiah this morning. I was moved by Isaiah 5, where it says, "Woe to you who add house to house and join field to field and pave over the dead till no space is left, and you live alone in the land." Indeed, for thousands of years, those in power, the wealthy and influential, who do not care about the people and do not respect the earth or God, the Creator, God's self, they're willing to engage in land grabs. They're willing to roll over, even pave over bodies and communities, the bodies and communities of those who have built up society but not been paid fair wages, unable to enjoy the fruits of their labor. But that injustice does not have the last word. The story does not end there. When we keep reading in Isaiah and in other sacred texts and traditions, but in Isaiah 6, right in the midst of these land grabs, right in the midst of these developers coming and pushing the people out, right in the midst of the wealthy and the powerful being disregarding of the lives of so many, God poses a question. God says, "Who shall I send? Who shall I send?" And the response in that moment and in this moment is, "Here I am."
A new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory.
There are forces that want to take us back to another place.
But you know what happens if we date Christians coming over to this country, then every black church was not developed in a hush harbor. We were Christians when we came. In other words, we brought Jesus with us when we got over here. No. Not that we brought spirituality. We brought Jesus. We already understood who Jesus was. We already understood what Jesus could do for us. And when we came over here and we mixed with others, we brought Jesus to the table. That's important. I don't know if we're telling each other.
Now, I don't have time to go into the fact that we're not raising here the question of sort of an ideology of preeminence of the Bible as a sacred text over all other sacred texts in the world. No, I don't believe that. I believe that God can be called by names which are strange to me, and that there are many roads that lead to the summit. Buddhists have a road that leads to the summit. The Hindu have a road that leads to the summit. This is right. Native Americans have a road that leads to the summit. So who am I in my American narrow socialization to claim that I have the absolute only way to understand the ultimate reality of God? Impossible.
Asbury United Methodist Church raised a banner to stand in solidarity with Jesus the Christ ministry of setting the oppressed free. And that banner was removed by trespassers. That banner was removed by domestic terrorists. That banner was removed by those who profit in hate. And they employed the historic act of using fire to intimidate and terrorize black and brown people into silence. Well, we are here because we will not be silenced.
Asbury.